All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We're going to start, as we always do, with introductions. We'll start to my right.
Good evening. I am Christine Smith, Clerk to the Board. Welcome.
Good evening. I am Arlissa Easton, Deputy Clerk to the Board.
Good evening. My name is Yvette Townsend Ingham. I serve you at large on the Board of County Commission, also known as Commissioner YTI, Yvette Townsend Ingham.
Good evening. I am Mecklenburg County Commissioner Elaine Powell, representing North Mecklenburg, Huntersville, Davidson, Cornelius, and North Charlotte.
Good evening. I am George Dunlap, elected by the people of District 3. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Lee Altman, Mecklenburg County Commissioner serving at large, and I also have the privilege of serving as Vice Chair.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Jarrell. I've been elected by the people of District 4. Also have the honor of serving as Chair. Welcome.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Arthur Griffin. I have the pleasure of serving as County Commissioner at large.
Good afternoon. My name is Vilma D. Leakey, and I represent the most powerful district in the county, and that's District 2, 1, 2.
Good evening. I'm Laura Meyer, and I represent District 5.
Good evening. I'm Susan Rodriguez McDowell, and I have the honor of being elected by the people of District 6.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Mike Bryan, Mecklenburg County Manager.
Good evening, Tyrone Wade, County Attorney.
Thank you for that. Next, we will have our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chair Altman.
I am so sorry. I did not realize that it was me, and I'm going to call upon the gentleman to my right because I know he's always got a beautiful prayer ready, and I'm so sorry.
Work it out. Work it out.
I am sorry.
Wait, Reverend.
Sorry, Mr.
Please, no.
Did I miss that?
No, I'm sure you're right. I'm sure I'm wrong.
No,
All right, we'll go to.
it was right, because I saw it was odd anyway. It was like,
Also,
anyway,
whatever.
let
I
us.
apologize.
All right, Commissioner Dunlap.
He does a beautiful job.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to thee this time thanking you for all your many wonderful blessings. Father, as we have celebrated the risen Savior, we thank you for all that he means to this world. Father, as we come with a special blessing for those who are on the brink of war. We ask that you would be with them and protect them. Look after your children. Father, we ask a special blessing for those who will be put into war without really understanding why. We ask that you would calm their fears, keep them safe. We ask that you would throw your strong arms of protection around them and cause no harm, hurt, or danger to come upon them. And Father, as we come to deliberate on the issues that face Mecklenburg County, we ask that you would give us the strength and the courage to do what is right. We ask a special blessing on this community. We ask a special blessing on this board. We ask that the things that we say and do would be pleasing in your sight. These blessings we ask with the forgiveness of all our many sins. This is my prayer for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
With liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Dunlap, thank you for being on the ready. Typically, at this point, what we do is make sure that we remind everyone of our mission and our vision. These are the principles that guide our discussion and our decisions. Our mission is to serve Mecklenburg County residents by helping improve their lives and community. Our vision is Mecklenburg County will be a community of pride and choice for people to live, learn, work, and recreate. Our board priorities for FY 26-27 are economic development, education, environmental stewardship, health, equity, and wellness, services for seniors, workforce development, and reducing racial disparities. At this time, if you're not aware, we are a part of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and the president of that association has provided us with a short video that he has asked all boards to play, and we are going to honor his request at this time.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the NC County's Care Forum on Rural Health Care on March the 27th. We are grateful that you took the time to be a part of such an important conversation for our communities. Throughout the afternoon, we heard valuable insights from North Carolina healthcare leaders from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, ECU Health, representatives from a local health department, as well as our partner from Carolina Demography, Dr. Nathan Dollar. Together, these voices helped highlight both the challenges and the opportunities facing rural health care in our state. Whether during the panel or small group discussions, the attendees' perspectives and experiences are what make these forums meaningful and impactful. This kind of engagement is how we move ideas into action. We hope you'll continue the conversation with us at the next forum in this presidential series on May the 20th in Beaufort County. There, we'll take a closer look at health care in jails, another critical issue affecting counties across North Carolina. Be on the lookout for the registration information. Now, I want to mention something very important to all commissioners across the state. I highly encourage you to stay engaged on key policy discussions happening at the General Assembly, especially the House and Senate committees on property tax. These conversations will have significant impacts for our counties as well as the people that we serve. So please plan to join us in the state capitol for County Advocacy Days on June the 9th and 10th, an important opportunity for us to connect directly with our legislators and ensure that county voices are heard. Thank you again for your leadership, your collaboration, and your commitment to strengthening the health of our communities. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
That's an old white man.
All right, that is our State Association President, Wallace Nelson, and I think it's also worth mentioning that the incoming national president for our association is our own Commissioner George Dunlap. So we're always going to take the opportunity to lift that up. At this point, we're going to take up some items that we had to take up in closed session. First item, and I'm going to ask colleagues if you'll let me read the entire motion into the record, please. Chair will entertain a motion to authorize the county manager to negotiate and execute all documents necessary for the acquisition of tax parcel 171-152-01 plus or minus 8.2 acres. The former Smith School located at 1600 Tyvola Road from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Board of Education for a purchase price of $4.5 million for $4,500,000 for future housing purposes to be outlined in a memorandum of agreement among other terms and conditions in a purchase and sale agreement between the county and the BOE contingent upon approval by the BOE.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any readiness? Hearing none, all those in favor, let's see by show of hands. That's unanimous, Madam Clerk. All right, next, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the purchase of a portion of tax parcel 113-271-35 plus or minus 39 acres by the Charlotte Mecklenburg Board of Education from Crescent River District LLC for the purchase price of $7,500,000 for the construction of a replacement school for the current Berry Hill K-8 school. Is there such a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any readiness? Hearing none. Let's see by show of hands. All those in favor? That is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Thank you. At this time, I usually turn it over to the Vice Chair for awards and recognition. We have one proclamation tonight, and she has given me the honor and privilege of being able to read this proclamation. It's National County Government Month, and I am actually honored, Madam Vice Chair, that you tapped me to read this.
Of course.
And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties serving more than 330 million Americans provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas counties fulfill a vast range of responsibilities and deliver services that touch nearly every aspect of our residents' lives. And whereas counties, as intergovernmental partners, enact local, state, and federal programs to address the needs of all residents. And whereas Mecklenburg County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas the nation is celebrating 250 years of independence this year, and counties have a long and rich history of serving residents. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services. And whereas Mecklenburg County plays a vital role in the daily lives of its more than 1 million residents by delivering essential services such as public health, education, and literacy services, environmental protection, social service, and economic development. And whereas recognizing the importance of Mecklenburg County and its dedicated employees promotes greater civic engagement, support intergovernmental collaboration, and highlights the essential role counties play in strengthening communities, enhancing quality of life. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mecklenburg Board of County Commissioners does hereby proclaim April 2026 as National County Government Month and encourages all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in this special observance this 7th day of April 2026. Signed, Mark D. Jarrell, Chair, Mecklenburg Board of County Commissioners. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Does anybody have any remarks? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, no opposition. Fantastic. All right. Next, everyone will move to public appearance. I do have to read a lengthy statement, so please bear with me. Public appearance is the period during the board's regular meeting that members of the public are provided the opportunity to speak on matters not appearing on the agenda. Members of the public who appear during the public appearance portion of a regular meeting may discuss any matter within the jurisdiction of the Board of Commissioners except for the following types of matters. A matter which appears on the agenda of that meeting of the board, a matter which concerns the candidacy of any person for public office, including the candidacy of the person appearing before the board, a request that the board considers funding a certain program or activity, either from the current budget or by inclusion in a future budget. Such request will be made at the board's annual budget public hearing. Time limit for speaking is 3 minutes unless there are 4 more speakers who wish to speak concerning the same matter, in which case all persons wishing to speak on the same matter will be considered a group and given a total of 10 minutes. The board reserves the right to alter these rules on a case-by-case basis as necessary for the efficient and effective conduct of business. Members of the board will not engage in dialogue with public appearance speakers. Comments will be received and followed up on as applicable by county staff and/or members of the board. Handouts and/or tokens shall be given to the clerk for distribution to the board at the conclusion of the meeting. Members of the public can also access and view the meeting on the government channel or online at watch.MeckNC.gov. Tonight, we have one speaker, and that speaker is Carson Cone. Carson, welcome. You can come to that podium right there, and you will have 3 minutes. Just begin whenever you're ready.
Before I speak, when I signed up to speak, it was on an issue regarding the budget, and I'm hearing from you that I cannot speak on that. Am I understanding that correctly?
Can you parse? I think that is correct. You're not going to be able to make an ask with respect to the budget. Yes.
I would request that you guys alter as you're able to do, because I was not aware.
Mic, sir.
I ask that you guys please alter your rules to allow me to speak on this because I was not aware that I was not allowed to speak on the issue. It's a bit like when you sign up at a website, you sign up for a million things, you're not reading through all of those things. I would appreciate that opportunity, please.
All right,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I'd offer a motion that we amend for this one time. He's already here.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's been, motion has been made and seconded. Is there any comments or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, just say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
What you want us to do, raise our hands and say
No,
aye?
just say aye. So we're going to restart the clock.
Okay.
You can speak to what you came to speak to. Thank you, Commissioner Dunlap, for doing that.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you all. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Commissioners, I'm here to speak about a need to notify public assistance customers that the Wilson Center Community Resource Center on Billingsley Road is no longer open. I understand that the closure has been publicized through some methods, such as physical signs at the center and broadcasts on the news. However, many of those up for recertification may not have visited the Wilson Center to see the signs, and many customers have not seen the news about the closure. Commissioner Altman, I heard you say at the last budget meeting that you get requests for parks and not CRCs. People on public assistance often do not have free time to advocate for such a need. They are more worried about where their next meal will come from or where they might sleep. I heard in the State of the County address how much you all are doing to combat homelessness. Please do not think that I do not appreciate this, as I have been spreading the good news in the community. However, I've also worked over 3 days in the front lobby of the Wilson Center as a Mecklenburg County employee within the last 3 weeks. Each day there was an average of more than 45 people coming to the building only to be told it was closed. The deputy director of the Wilson Center told me it would cost the county $40,000 to send a postcard in the mail to everyone on public assistance, letting them know of the closure. According to your last budget meeting, the county is scheduled to have an excess of $60 million at the end of 2026, assuming the 1 cent is not adjusted to pay off debt more quickly. But for those struggling in the community, paying off debt is a dream that is hard to imagine. I understand that some people believe that there are those who like being on public assistance, and I cannot confirm nor deny this. I can say that many people would love the freedom that comes with a higher income. Please do not let them spend money on the bus and time off work to waste a trip to Wilson just so that the county can pay off debt faster. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Thank you for coming.
All right, next item on the agenda are appointments. And we are going to have to take a vote on the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Advisory Board. They have 3 unexpired terms available, 2 expiring March 31st, 2027, 1 expiring March 31st, 2028. Terms will be distributed in the order of the applications were received. There are 5 nominees. We'll go through each one. There'll be multiple rounds, or it may take multiple rounds. Let me just name them so everybody can be prepared. Renee Barfield, Shay Morton, Anna Pupo, Courtney Savoy, and Jasmine Williams. And so I'll go down the list in that order. Round 1, all those voting for Renee Barfield, let's see by show of hands.
How many votes we get?
We have 2, it's 3 total. Right, Madam Clerk, 3 total. So all those for Renee Barfield, let's see by show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Shay Morton, let's see by show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Shay is appointed. Anna Pupo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Anna is appointed. Courtney Savoy. 1, 2. Jasmine Williams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So we have our 3 appointees. Congratulations to Shay Morton, Anna Pupo, and Jasmine Williams. And certainly want to thank Renee Barfield and Courtney Savoy for offering to lend their time and talent to the community as well. Next, we'll move to the Bicycle Advisory Committee. Nominations or appointments are needed on the Bicycle Advisory Committee to fill two terms. Terms will be distributed in the order the applications were received. There are 7 potential nominees. Are there nominations? Commissioner Rodriguez McDowell.
I'd like to nominate Alex Wolbrook.
Who was it, I'm sorry?
Alex Wolbrook.
Alex Wolbrook, I see it. Okay. Any other nominations?
I have a question.
Sure.
When you're looking at the demographics, there are no members. Is this a brand new,
It's not new.
look at it. Do you see the demographics?
It should be a joint between the city and the county.
Just 0 all the way down. I just don't know how many are from each district.
Oh,
Is it a
okay.
mistake?
I see what
The
you
clerk is about to answer.
If there's 0, that means that we don't have anyone on there right now.
Oh, so this is just county. So we don't have any county representation.
That's correct.
Interesting.
It's a
Okay.
joint board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner
Sorry.
Powell. No, you're fine. Thank you.
Stephanie Amador, I nominate Stephanie Amador
Okay,
and Gaynor Eisenlohr.
okay, great. Got those two. Commissioner Leek?
I didn't hear her last name.
She did Stephanie Amador and Gaynor Eisenlohr. Any other nominations?
Seth Martin.
Okay, Commissioner Leek has nominated Seth Martin. I am going to nominate Rachel Adderley. Any other nominations?
Close, said name. You need 4.
No, this is, we only need 2, but we've got
5.
5 nominations so far. Any other nominations?
Coming back either way.
It's coming back either way. Anybody want to nominate the other 2? No? Okay. All right, I'll take. So we don't have to do a motion to close, right? We can just come back?
No, it just comes back.
Okay. All right, so the individuals that have been nominated are Rachel Adderley, Stephanie Amador, Gaynor Eisenlohr, Seth Martin, and Alex Wolbrook, and that will come back on the 21st, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time, what we'll do is, Mr. Manager, we're going to go to you with the manager's report.
Great, thank you. Good evening again. I have 3 items under my manager's report for tonight. The first 2 items are pertaining to the fiscal year 2027 operating budget. You will receive 2 updates for information only. I'm not asking you to take any action. And our Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Mr. Adrian Cox, will present on those 2 topics. The first topic, he'll be sharing with you the results from our public engagement exercise. And then following that presentation, any question you may have, he'll be prepared to move forward with the program review, deep dive analysis on our budget as well. With that, Mr. Chair, please recognize Adrian Cox.
Adrian, you are recognized, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, County Manager Bryant. Good evening, Chairman Jarrell, members of the board. As the manager mentioned today, I'm going to be providing an update on 2 projects that our team is working on as part of the 2027 budget process. For this first presentation, I'm going to provide an update on our budget public engagement activities. And then following this presentation, I'll brief the board on a program review project that is currently underway to evaluate all of the county's programs and conduct a deep dive review of the budget. Each year, the Office of Management and Budget works to engage with the public through various means to help educate residents about the county overall, as well as the budget, to gather their feedback and to share that feedback with decision makers as we build the budget. The goal is to promote transparency, to build trust, and to ultimately lead to better, more informed decisions. Here is a summary of our engagement strategy for this year. We conducted a representative survey incorporated into the community survey. We conducted outreach at high-traffic areas and events, as well as student outreach at CMS, CPC, and local universities. In total, we reached approximately 287 residents and 274 students in person. Earlier this year, we polled the advisory boards about their budget priorities. Results were provided in the retreat binder material, and the boards were given an opportunity to present directly to the Board of Commissioners. We are also holding 2 public hearings. One was held before the annual retreat, and another is scheduled for May after the manager presents the recommended budget. There are a couple of changes to our process this year. First, we replaced our budget simulator on our website with some budget dashboards due to low usage and because of budget reductions that we made last year. Also, this year, we transitioned to combining the budget survey with the community survey to both save costs and also to reduce survey fatigue for the community. Last year, our survey was conducted in February with results in March. The community survey was conducted between June and July, and these results were shared with the board back in December. In just a moment, I'm going to go over the budget portion of those results. And as we continue to try to merge these 2 surveys, we are planning to better align the questions and the survey timing with the budget process in the upcoming year. So we continue to try to meet people where they are through outreach in high-traffic areas and events. This map shows the different locations in the county that the budget team engaged directly with residents and students, discussing the budget and answering their questions. The OMB team went to 13 different locations throughout the county, including rec centers that were hosting senior activities, Central Piedmont campuses, libraries, and the Still Creek Resident Association. We also engaged directly with students in the classroom at both high school and at post-secondary school. As we engaged with the public, we used a variety of different educational tools. We partnered with Public Information earlier this year to develop an infographic summarizing the main highlights of the budget. And I will note that this infographic has been provided as a guide for residents at several of your own community events. We conducted priority setting exercises, and we showed people how to access some online tools, including a budget explorer that allows residents to filter through various layers of the county budget. Overall, we were able to reach approximately 507 residents, including students, through direct contact. So one of the activities that we used with groups was to have them identify how they would spend $100 on various county investments. This is not a representative sample. This is just an activity that we did throughout the county to engage with folks. Here are the results of that activity, and you can see the top selections are affordable housing, health care, and access to healthy food, as well as mental health. So now I'm going to go over the results of the official budget survey that was conducted along with the community survey. I'm not going to go into great detail on the methodology or the particular demographics, as Carly Godfrey went over those thoroughly back in December. As a reminder, we had 1,118 surveys completed through a representative sample, providing us with a 95% confidence level at a 2.9 percentage point margin of error. You can see based on the chart here on this slide comparing the survey participants by race and ethnicity to the census, that respondents matched very closely to the makeup of the county as a whole. Here are the responses by commissioner district. We had at least 170 responses within each district. The first question that we asked residents was how well their household needs were being met for 13 different county services. This chart shows the percentage of respondents that indicated whether their household need was not met, partially met, mostly met, or fully met. Residents also had the option to indicate that they have no need. This chart excludes responses indicating that the household has no need at all for the service. The results are sorted by the percentage of responses indicating that their household needs were either not met or only partially met for those that indicated that they had the need. Affordable housing, workforce development, access to healthy food, health care access, and new parks, greenways, and open space were the top 4 areas that residents indicated their needs were not met. So the last slide excluded responses where residents indicated that they had no need for a service. This chart shows only the responses indicating that the household had no need for the service. Not that their needs were already being met by the county, but that they had no need. So the last slide provides an indication of how well needs for services are or are not being met for the people who need them. This chart simply shows the percentage of respondents indicating that they did not have a particular need. Residents were also asked to indicate their first, second, third, and fourth priorities for services for additional funding in the county's budget. So not necessarily what their own household needs were, but what they thought should be a priority for funding overall. The top 4 services that residents indicated should be a priority for funding were affordable housing, behavioral health, access to healthy food, and senior services. This chart provides the same results but in more detail, showing the percentage of respondents selecting each service as either their first, second, third, or fourth priority. So, for example, 22.8% of respondents indicated that efforts by the county to improve access to affordable housing was their first priority for county funding, 12.6% their second, 13.2% indicated that it was their third, and 7.9% indicated that it was their fourth priority. We also asked residents if they would be willing to pay a slight increase in taxes to help fund improvements to the services that they selected as their top priority. 48.8% of respondents indicated yes, which is slightly down from 51% in the previous survey. 32.8% said no, and 18.3% did not respond to this particular question. When you evaluate this question by income, we find that residents with lower incomes were much less likely to indicate yes to this question. So to summarize the survey, we combined the results related to unmet needs with the results for residents' budget priority. When we do that, these are the top 5 services shown in the table on the right. Last year's results are shown in the table with the red header on the left. This year, efforts by the county to improve access to affordable housing is ranked number 1, as it was last year. Mental health, behavioral health, and substance use, again, ranked 2nd. Programs and services that help residents get access to healthy food was 3rd. Services for senior adults, ranked 4th. And workforce development, number 5. So if you'd like to access the results or any of our online information, it can all be found at budget.MeckNC.gov. The survey results, particularly, can be found at the link that's shown here on this slide. And we have built a dashboard that allows you to filter the results by the demographics or the commissioner district so that you can explore the results any way that you would like. I can also email you a link to this dashboard so that you can have it handy. Chairman Jarrell, that is the update I have on the budget public engagement.
Thank you, Adrian. I appreciate it. We're gonna, are there questions, comments? Let me start with Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you, Adrian. Always interesting. Can you remind why education is not on the list of priorities again?
Yes, so we have done various budget surveys for quite some time, and what we found was just about every time we did it, education rose to the top. A few years ago, we redesigned the survey, and we tried to focus on those things where we were going to have potentially specific budget decisions that we could make. Certainly, you can make decisions around education, but at that point, it's more so just funding for CMS. So we tried to change our survey to focus on those things that we knew would come up where there may be some different options to explore. So that's the only
While
reason.
recognizing education still is an interest of the community.
Right, and that's, I just wanted that to be
correct.
public. Yeah,
That's
thank
correct.
you, I appreciate it.
That's right. Commissioner Townsend Ingram.
Thanks again also for the information. Question that I still have always is how do we communicate, for instance, if we had, that you represented on the one slide, the number of people, like at least 170 representatives from each district for each one, what is the threshold to give us a good number, a good representation for each district? For instance, there has to be, you have to have an account of the number of people per district on average. Then what would be a good sample size for that district? That's my first question. So is 170 enough? And then, you know, we made a change to move from the simulator because of low usage. How are we communicating the simulator to like, budget simulator to like businesses and things of that nature? How do we accumulate? What's the greatest amount of money that we spend on communication? In what format? Is my question clear, or do I need to rephrase?
Let me try it.
Okay.
The first question about the representative survey. So when we work with our consultant that conducts the survey after it's designed, we are trying to get to a representative survey with a certain level of confidence, and that's that 95% confidence with a plus or minus 2 percentage points margin of error. We also ask that they try to do this geographically based upon commissioner districts. So I would say that the results of the survey on a county basis are representative of the county.
So 170, basically 170 people per district is a good representation of the 1.2 million.
I think once you
of the whole
start,
county.
yes, of the county, once you start dividing it into smaller and smaller subgroups, it can get a little bit trickier, but what we're trying to do is see what the county overall, what would represent the general public. So yes, I think it is a good representative sample. The other, remind me, your other question was about the simulator. So what we are doing instead of the simulator. So the simulator would allow folks to go in and look through different areas of the budget. It was fairly complicated, even though it was a simplified budget. And what they could do is they could go in and they could increase some things, decrease some things, or possibly increase taxes. And we found that a lot of people would go to that and they would look at it, but they weren't actually trying to balance it, or they couldn't get it to balance. They would go in and maybe say, well, I want to increase this one thing a whole lot, and then they would just leave. But what we've done is tried to replace that with some tools, some dashboards that folks can go to, and they can just get the information, and they're not trying to work through trying to do those pluses and minuses.
You were measuring who actually, the traffic of who actually went to it, who actually used it, and my question was, so how are we getting the information to say, hey, we've got this great simulator here, you can use it for this, that, and the third? Are we spending money to say that? And if we are, where are we spending the greatest amount of money to advertise to our county residents that, hey, we've got this great tool that's going to help you with your budget?
So we were doing the simulator, and when we were doing that simulator that allowed folks to make those adjustments, we were promoting that throughout the county. We were promoting it at all the events we had. I know PI was promoting it in all the advertisements and on social media, but we still had fairly low traffic to that simulator. And that's one of the main reasons why we moved away from that particular option.
Commissioner Powell. There's going to be Commissioner Powell, Commissioner Leek, then Commissioner Rodriguez.
Thank you.
McDowell.
You are excellent at presenting. Is there a confidence number, you know, because I've heard that question before, but I don't know if everyone knows this, but when I was doing my town hall, you can break it out by district to see, you know, and it's different. All of our districts are different. And so what he just presented is the mix of all of it. But when I wondered, you know, because I have 170 some respondents in my district, but it totally matched the pulse of what I hear all the time. so it matched. But is there a number, is there a number you're seeking?
So the number that we are looking for is actually for the entire county, and that is the number that we have, that 1,118 surveys with at least 171 in each commission district. That gives us a 95% level of confidence, plus or minus 2.9 percentage points. It is all based upon the population size and also trying to make sure that it is representative of the makeup of the county.
Well, I hope I get 200 next year at least. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Leek.
Let me first say thank you for your presentation. Very clear, readable, printable, is large enough to see. And I'm saying all of this so that those who are our seniors, and we have been recognized in this budget of the needs that we have. The greatest number happens to be seniors in Mecklenburg County, who fits all of these that we talk about: housing, food, transportation. So I'm just grateful to see that we fall in the top 4. Am I right?
That's right.
All the way through. Any questions you have, all the way through is 4. When we have people who resent people who have, excuse me, who have longevity. And that's a shame that we in America, and especially some of us here, resent the fact that people have longevity and want to discredit it. So I'm hoping as we work on our budget that we will make sure that we meet the needs of our people who need it the most, and that happens to be our seniors. And many of you here, if you live long enough, you ought to be happy to be a part of that group. Some of you sitting up here are a part of it. So I'm saying to us, those of us who have reached that point in our lives, we're grateful. And we do give back to this community, and we serve in this community. And I'm thankful for those who work in the area of service for seniors. We appreciate what you do. And the young man this evening pleading for us to make sure we do the right thing for the right people at the right time. So thank you. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for emphasizing seniors. You presented that to us. Had it not been for you, we would not have had it as a highlight in the process for our program across this county. And some of us have parents, uncles and aunts who need the services. So don't forget the seniors. And I want to thank our manager, who is also saying to us, we need to make sure we do the right thing for seniors and not degrade them and talk about they're too old to be a part of anything that we have. And I have a right to speak. And they pay their taxes and they serve the community. So thank you, Mr. Chairperson, present chairperson, for emphasizing this and making this a part of your first agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rodriguez-McDowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I found that when I tried to fill out the survey that it was kind of confusing. The not met, partly met, mostly met, fully met, like that whole thing, I thought that was weird. I'm just speaking for myself. I didn't really care for that survey. But I did want to say that whoever created the infographic of the FY26 adopted budget, I thought that was excellent. It wasn't confusing, and like sometimes you see those infographics and you're like, what the heck are they trying to say? But this one was really clear, and I just wanted to say that was a great job. So
Well, thank you. That was Suzette and her team putting that together.
kudos. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you for that. Adrian, let me just say 2 things. Number one, appreciate the presentation. I also want to thank the entire team because I do think it's important for us to try different things and not just stay baked into maybe the way that we've done, and just opening up yourself to feedback on, the way the tool may or may not be received, because I think it really sends a signal to the community that we're always trying to get it right, and if we have to adjust back, we'll do it. And so, I just thank the team for just being courageous to try something different, to take a different perspective or a different lens. And I think all of our departments could try something, similar. And so I think as we're looking at these tools and the way that the community can apply them, I appreciate that level of effort, because it's saying that people really care about what they do, because they're not just trying to recycle or regurgitate what's been done in the past.
Thank you.
They just want to lift that.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the feedback about the survey. We are each year trying to make sure it works better.
Yep. So thank you, and I don't think that there are any other questions, but we definitely appreciate it.
Move forward to second item, Adrian.
All right, so that is what we're doing in terms of budget engagement for this year. I'm now going to talk about program review and a deep dive budget assessment. Before I jump into the concept of program review, I want to talk about program-based budgeting and what exactly that means. Program-based budgeting is a method of budgeting in which all of the organization's budget is organized by defined programs, also known as services. Each program has intended outcomes that are clearly defined and measured. All of these outcomes align to a comprehensive strategy for the organization. The costs to achieve the results for each program are clear for decision makers, and these programs are assessed for effectiveness, efficiency, and continued alignment with the organization's goals and objectives. The county has adhered to program-based budgeting for many years. Our current budget structure consists of 251 different programs. These programs currently align to 12 different areas, which you can see in the chart here on the right. Programs are also classified in terms of the county's funding flexibility, which we summarize with the choice matrix color codes that all of you are familiar with from our budget book as well as previous presentations. Program review is a systematic assessment of all of our programs for strategic alignment, which is sometimes referred to as relevance, effectiveness, and efficiency. It involves using a series of questions as an assessment tool to evaluate each program. As we review the programs, OMB analysts will complete a scoring matrix, which will provide a comparison of all of our programs across these three dimensions. And we are simultaneously conducting a deep dive assessment of the budgets for these programs. In addition to the scores, some of the results from this process may include recommendations to change how programs are defined in our budget structure, updates to the descriptions or the stated purpose of a program, recommendations regarding performance outcomes and data tracking that may be missing, or opportunities to modify program funding. The county has conducted program reviews in the past, and a partial review was conducted on a subset of services every year from 2006 to 2013. The approach was loosely based on the 2002 Federal Office of Management and Budget Program Assessment Rating Tool, or PART. Scores were published in the budget book, and the review served as one component of the county's Managing for Results philosophy. The results and recommendations help to inform the budget, and I also think it's important to note, especially as it relates to the scores from a program review, that the results help to inform the budget, but they do not necessarily dictate funding levels, which I'll explain that a little bit in just a moment. Looking back, the program reviews from that time led to some important findings. There were many recommendations to improve performance management through better targets, outcomes, and efficiency measures. The process also led to several updates to program descriptions to fully capture the activities of the programs. Early reviews prompted a security study and ultimately the outsourcing of county security for a savings of about $500,000 at the time. Also, findings related to inefficient technology purchasing throughout the organization led to the consolidation of purchasing to IT. And these are just a few of the findings from previous program reviews. We are well underway with the evaluation, which began earlier this year. The Office of Management and Budget, alongside the Office of Strategy and Innovation, have met with each department to discuss their program objectives, performance outcomes, or their aspirational outcomes, and to discuss any modifications to the current set of programs. Our team has completed the initial independent assessment. We then met collectively as a team to review each assessment and to calibrate our responses as a way to help balance the reviews and to promote objectivity. We have presented preliminary results to the county manager and the executive team, and we are now beginning to share drafts with departments as we finalize the results. Any recommendations approved by the manager will be factored in either the recommended budget, changes to program operations, or revisions to the performance data that we are tracking. And results based on these recommendations will be assessed on an ongoing basis using the county's balanced scorecard. There are a few things that I want to be sure to emphasize about the process. First, we are applying the same assessment tool to all programs in the budget, with the only exception being for internal customers versus external customers. Those tools are similar, but they are not exactly the same. This is important because it allows for comparisons across different programs. We are not conducting program review on CMS and CPCC. Although the county provides funding to the schools, we're not in a position to treat these organizations as we would a county department, so they are not included in this review. I also want to reiterate that the program review is just one of many tools the manager will have to inform the recommended budget, and there are many other factors that the manager will consider. And although there may be some realignments identified in this process, this is not a review specifically designed to cut the budget. So in the next few slides, I'll share the assessment tool that we are using for the programs with the external customers. I'm not going to go over every assessment question, but I will highlight a few of these in each area so you can get a feel for how the tool works. The questions on this slide pertain to strategic alignment. And the first question is, do the intended outcomes of the program benefit the quality of life for the broader community? So think of things like parks and libraries. Or do the intended outcomes of the program address a problem for a specific group or those with specific circumstances? So these are things such as behavioral health or foster care. This is a fairly straightforward question, but before it can be answered, we have to have discussions with the departments to make sure we understand what exactly the intended outcomes are for the program. Responses range from clearly no to clearly yes, or in some cases, a question may not be applicable. The weight for this question is a 3 because it is a very important determination. Question 2 seeks to determine if the outcomes are aligned to the goals of the county. This might be the board's priorities, strategic plans, or other places where we have clearly established or articulated some goals. You can see the rest of the questions here are all tied to strategic alignment of the program. Here are the assessment questions related to effectiveness. These questions are intended to help us assess how well the programs work. Here we are looking for some evidence that it is having the desired results. These questions relate to whether we have systems in place to know who we are serving, the level of need, and to measure our impacts based on clearly established targets. That is, do we have SMART goals in place for these programs? And then lastly, here are the assessment questions related to efficiency and sustainability. These questions are about cost and are we directing resources in the best possible way? And this is an important aspect to score because, as you know, we have finite resources at our disposal, and every decision to invest in a particular program is also a decision not to invest in something else. So those are the questions that we are using to analyze each program. As we complete this assessment tool, we are gathering information and documenting our justification for each of these responses. So this assessment tool will result in some scores for each program, which are calculated as a % of the total possible points. We are not ready to share those scores today, but they will be provided along with the recommended budget and the balanced scorecard. Because these scores can be misinterpreted, I think it is important to understand what these scores from this assessment will mean and what they will not mean. A lower score for strategic alignment may mean that there is not a clearly articulated strategy with desired outcomes tied to a program. Low scores for effectiveness may indicate that a program has an opportunity to improve performance management by identifying and reporting outcome measures. And lower scores for efficiency may mean that resources are not fully leveraged or there is a high per unit cost compared to similar types of operations. Lower scores will not automatically mean that we need to eliminate a program, but simply that it is an opportunity to make improvements in one of these three areas. Higher scores will indicate that there is clear strategic alignment, targets have been identified, outcomes are regularly reported, and resources are utilized in an efficient manner. However, there may still be opportunities in other areas, even if they score high in this assessment. I also think it's important to note that the scores from a program review are as much about the organizational practices as they are about the individual departments that are implementing the services. That is to say, if a department is not reporting outcome measures related to the effectiveness of a particular program, it is in part because the county has not established or maintained that reporting requirement. So as you know, Michael Griswold and his team are also creating a balanced scorecard this year to serve as our guide for how we operate as an organization and serve the community. This work is occurring simultaneously in coordination with the program review. As we identify opportunities to improve our service structure or performance management, we are feeding this information back to our partners in OSI to incorporate in the balanced scorecard. Both projects will culminate with the presentation of the recommended budget in May. Here are some preliminary high-level findings so far, and I don't think that any of these will come as a major surprise based off previous conversations. First, although we have lots of different performance measures for county departments, there is an opportunity to refine and develop official measures with targets tracked at a program level for many of our programs. Second, the county could consider establishing more specific strategies and desired outcomes for some of the programs that we traditionally think of as having soft outcomes. These are programs like the arts, community events, and historic landmarks. That's not to say there's something wrong with those programs, but for these programs, it's much harder to land on specific, tangible outcomes we hope to achieve, and there's often multiple goals that are at play. But specifying those particular intended outcomes can be beneficial to the overall management of the programs. In conducting the review, we also realized early on that there is some opportunity to be more consistent with how we define programs related to administration, which would help to make the distinction between direct and indirect programs much clearer in our budget. Through the fiscal year 2027 budget and the development of the balanced scorecard and beyond, we hope to address many of these opportunities. And lastly, we know that we are funding several programs that are not necessarily mandated, and we are finding that many of these programs can be fairly unique to Mecklenburg County, or at least unique in the level at which we fund them. And these include child care subsidies, subsidies for adult daycare and in-home aid, the extent to which we are funding state positions in the courts, funding for forensic evaluations, and subsidies that are provided to increase the salaries for NC pre-K. So far, I've mostly spoken about the program review work that we've been doing, which will provide a lot of information for the performance and strategy side of our operations. We are also conducting a deep dive assessment of the budget facilitated by three major areas of activity. First, as we conduct this program review, we are looking at the budget for each of the programs and providing options for management and departments to consider. These options include some areas of underspend, along with scenarios that may have varying impacts and may require additional study to execute. Our quarterly monitoring process is an ongoing, structured process of monitoring and reporting on the budget. Through our quarterly monitoring reports, we often identify opportunities that can be factored in the upcoming budget. and it provides a mechanism to communicate budget trends and observations vertically through the organization throughout the year. And then lastly, our budget process for 2027 has been redesigned for this year. We review all of the budgets at the line item level, working closely with department budget and finance staff. In addition, this year we are incorporating more collaborative discussions across departments, grouped by portfolios managed by our deputy county managers, with an intentional focus on identifying opportunities to rethink how we provide services and to do things different and leverage resources better. So what are some of the things that you can expect from this project? There may be realignments that are identified that will be included in the manager's recommended budget. You will see some changes to the programs in fiscal year 2027. We will update descriptions to better reflect program objectives. We may need to break out some additional programs, and we may also identify opportunities to consolidate some programs in ways that enhance the overall focus and transparency in the budget. At the completion of the project, outcome measures aligned to the balanced scorecard will be presented alongside the budget information for fiscal year 2027. Lastly, we will publish a summary of the results of the program review with the 2027 budget book. So there's more to come on this project as we complete it. Chairman Jarrell, that completes my update.
Thank you, Adrian. We're going to start with Commissioner Griffin.
Anyway, first of all, Adrian, thank you for your presentation, number one. Couple of observations. One, I want to thank the staff and the board for embracing the manager's approach to improving effectiveness and efficiencies and outcomes for what we do, and embracing the balanced scorecard and looking at SMART goals. I think that is phenomenal and certainly something that I've been looking for a long time. So I thank the staff for that. Just some quick observations before my time runs out. On slide 2, it says program-based budgeting. I certainly heard your description of that, but somehow or another, maybe performance-based budgeting or program performance-based budgeting. I think we need to start off articulating what we're trying to achieve in terms of specific outcomes, and particularly as it relates to our board goals. Oftentimes, our chair will read off the topics, but they're actually descriptions that you can try to correlate into some intentionality about specific outcomes. That's something I think is real important. My 3 minutes will go real quickly, so I'm going to skip down. I've shared some information and talked with Griswold over there this morning earlier, but let me give you an example when you say we don't say anything to the school system of Central Piedmont. Our education goal speaks specifically towards aligning the county's and taxpayers' investments towards college and career outcomes. And at our last presentation by the school board, they didn't even have college or career readiness, even on any slide that they presented to us. And as we try to be more efficient, one example I'll raise constantly is MEC Pre-K. And Mr. Manager, we have no way of getting information back from Charlotte Mecklenburg schools in terms of the performance of our kids in kindergarten through the early learning inventory, which is also state mandated and required by state law and state policy, not just DIBELS. If we're not going to follow up in terms of performance transparency information, then we need to save $3 million from a contract with High Scope. And I'm hoping that the staff will go through this process that Adrian just articulated, so that if we have a contract looking for school performance outcomes, if we can't get that information from the schools, let's bring that $3 million or the $4 million contract back into the budget for you to do something else with that we do have control with. So I'm hoping overall that this process will do exactly what you have on this paper, that there is a strategic alignment to these descriptive, that the effectiveness and the efficiency of county taxpayer dollars will be evidence in terms of the process. I have every hope an intention that, Mr. Manager, you and the team will actually deliver on that promise. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Meyer.
Oh, thank you. I just want to say, I have so much confidence after hearing the way you guys are doing it and the way this is being handled. It's very efficient, almost meticulous, and I just have a lot of confidence in what you're doing. And thank you for what you're doing, both of you, your entire team. I don't know, I agree with Commissioner Griffin. I really do think that, I think this is going to come, I think you're doing a great job, Manager. So thank you, and you've listened to this board, and that just says a lot, so thank you.
Commissioner Rodriguez-McDowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Adrian, thank you. I feel a little confused about the weighted and the scoring. I find that kind of blows my mind a little bit. And so I hope that, as the process goes on, I'll get it better. But when I see, like you've got a 1 next to, does the program address a need or provide a service that cannot be met by other means? That's only a 1 weight. I'm like, shouldn't that be a higher weight?
So I guess let me describe it this way, and it's a little bit of an art in applying these weights. But the logic that we tried to use was for those questions for which a clearly no answer would be a fundamental problem with the program. So think about that first question. Is it having a positive effect for residents? A clear no would be a foundational issue with that program. And so that we weighted as a 3.
Okay.
Those questions for which something could be done differently by the program to have it have a better result. So perhaps developing some official performance metrics. Those we weighted as a 2. And then the ones that we weighted as a 1 were those ones for which a clearly no is simply an attribute of that particular program. So is it mandated or not? There's nothing we can do to make something that's not mandated be mandated, but it is an attribute of the program that may weigh on the significance of it. So that is the way that we're applying those weightings so that we can kind of get a sense of the overall budget based upon the scoring metrics.
Okay, thank you for that, but you're still scaring me, okay? I just have to be honest. I don't see any place for narrative on here. And I guess I'm not as much of a data person as I am a narrative person. And so for me, this kind of thing makes me super nervous. So I'm just giving my feedback. I know you guys are going to do a great job with it, but it just makes me a little queasy. And then on slide 13, down at the bottom, the county funds several non-mandated programs that are largely unique or unique in scale to Mecklenburg County. But like Mech Pre-K isn't on that list, but that's not mandated.
It's not holistic.
It's not mandated.
Oh, it's not holistic. Oh, okay. That totally clears it up for me. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's it.
Sure. Thank you. Commissioner Altman?
Just want to say thank you to the manager and the team, all the hard work. This is definitely moving us in a direction of greater accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Leek?
I too want to ditto. The reading is easier to understand, the wordage is clear, and that that's not clear is made clear in the next step that you give to us. And if we follow this, all of us should be in tune with what the budget can do and will do for the citizens of Mecklenburg County. So I'm just grateful that you've stepped from one direction to another to make it, and the language is important. And I'm hoping that our communication department will take this and publicize it in the community so that those who may have problems should not have problems now because of what and how it's being clarified. So thank you again for what you're doing. Your team. Who else is with your team doing this?
Thank you so much. My entire team is working on these projects. And so I got a team of excellent analysts, and without their efforts, we wouldn't be where we're at in terms of this work that we're doing today. So thank you so much. They're not here with me tonight, but they're certainly doing the work, and of course,
They're
we're
here
doing.
in spirit. They're
That's
here
right.
in spirit. That's what we say as seniors. They're here in spirit. So thank you so much. And give that message to them from us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Adrian, really appreciate the work. The board, obviously, I'm
Yes,
speaking
sir.
for the entire board. I mean, I think this is fantastic. Just want to remind everyone, it's a starting point. It's a, waters and territory we have not entered in previously. So I'd like us all to keep that in mind. I do think, I like Commissioner Rodriguez McDowell's point. I do think it's going to be important for us to consider, while we do have the weighted numbers, but I could see Mark Jarrell, Commissioner, asking, okay, well, dig deeper, right? Why, what's going on? So, Mr. Manager, probably to have some narrative behind it. It would probably be helpful, and it'll help also with transparency as well.
That's true.
Just in case people do want to refute or provide additional context.
Yeah, and I certainly appreciate that, and I appreciate some of the nervousness around the scores. That's why I gave all those caveats.
Yeah.
Because scores on their own don't necessarily tell you what you should do.
That's right.
We have, in the past, we've had programs that had low performance, and what that meant was we needed more resources, not that we needed less resources. So there's different ways that you can look at these scores to really understand what's going on, but it serves as a tool to start pointing us into a direction.
That's fair. And then I would say, as it relates to, because if this is a budget assessment in a real deep dive, the majority of our budget is actually education-related and CMS-related. So it's a little difficult for me to pass on some level of outcome or program evaluation of the investment that we make there. And I don't know how we bridge that, but, 42% of our budget is allocated to CMS, I believe, and then when you take NC Pre-K and our CPCC investments, it's a significant, almost 50% of the budget, and so as it relates to that, I would like to see us do what we can do to have some level of assessment with respect to those entities, and I don't know how we do that, but I do think since we're talking budget, I think that is appropriate. So that's just my feedback, so we'll see where we land. No?
Good.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Adrian, and Board, thank you for your feedback. This is part of our rethinking how we budget in Mecklenburg County. You recall last week, our CFO presented on our capital budget with a recommendation to pause it, which you all have embraced it. Tonight, we brought forward our deep dive analysis on the operating budget. Along with, of course, we have the scorecard in motion, and we've redesigned our budget process internally. And I'll continue to bring more regarding our operating budget as we lead up to May 14th, as I release my recommended budget for your consideration. So thank you, Adrian and team, for that good job and presentation. For this next item and final item on my manager's report, I'm asked Lisette Lemons, our Legislative Affairs Manager, to make her way to the podium. And just like the prior two presentations, this presentation too is for information purposes only. And relative to the property tax levy limit, I want to be clear, as important as this proposed legislation that Lisette is going to touch on and the potential impact it can have on Mecklenburg County, now is not the time to press the panic button. Instead, I want to be sure that this board has a common understanding of that proposed language, in particular as we prepare for the joint delegation meeting with the city and CMS scheduled on April 14th. There is no real need to codify requiring limits in the Constitution. The current tax levy limit of $1.50 are set by the general statute. The proposed constitutional amendment does not change the uniformity clause, but would force the General Assembly to set limits on how much taxes could be increased each year. Again, no details of how this may be accomplished have been determined yet. However, we want to work closely with the state to avoid any problematic legislation being enacted. I share the goal of protecting residents from unexpected and disproportionate tax burdens caused by sharp rises in tax bills when values increase or rate changes. This just isn't the way to do it. As a county, we have worked to try to deal with it locally with our homes program. A more effective and equitable solution would be targeted relief to those affected by looking at programs like the homestead inclusions for the elderly, disabled, and veterans, along with the circuit breaker tax deferment, or creating a new relief program for those truly impacted. A one-size-fits-all solution that is dictated by Raleigh doesn't provide local elected officials the flexibility you need to respond to the challenges of our residents. This is a very complicated issue with widely varying considerations across the entire state of North Carolina. And pending what the property tax rate cap would be set to on an annual basis, it is important for you to know that the county cannot absorb this impact alone. I would have to look at our funding partners such as CMS, CPC, and our criminal justice partners. We are not in a financial position to continue to add to the $484 million of funding in our fiscal year 26 adopted budget that is needed due to mandates or a lack of sufficient funding by the state. With that, Chair, I ask that you recognize Lisette Nimitz.
Lisette, you are recognized.
Thank you, County Manager Bryant. Good evening, Chairman Durrell, Vice Chair Altman, Commissioners, County Manager Bryant, and staff. Just to provide a bit of background for you, the House Select Committee on Property Tax Reduction and Reform was created to investigate practical ways to reduce the burden on homeowners without undermining local services. Mecklenburg delegation membership on the committee includes Representative Carney, Representative Cunningham, Representative Dew, and Representative Majid. The committee has held 4 meetings and heard presentations on trends in home pricing, constitutional uniformity, governmental, and nonprofit exemptions. Recent federal funding was also a part of these presentations, as well as the proposed legislation which you'll hear tonight. On March 18th, the committee presented 4 pieces of legislation. As you see in front of you, the first could result in a levy cap on property taxes. The second would set ownership requirements for affordable housing. The third would limit the amount and number of sales tax exemptions per nonprofit entity. And the last would limit the property tax exemption for nonprofit hospitals to 50%. So I'll start with the first. This is titled Constitutional Amendment, Property Tax Levy Limit. This would allow North Carolina voters to decide whether to amend the state constitution to limit how much counties and cities can increase property taxes. If voters support this referendum, lawmakers would be required to create stricter limits on how property taxes can be raised. There could be exceptions to this, but this would also be decided by those lawmakers. Currently, local governments can increase property taxes within certain limits provided by state law. According to state statute, counties may levy property taxes up to $1.50 per $100 of the assessed value. The current property tax rate in Mecklenburg County is 0.4927 cents per $100 of the assessed value. Mecklenburg County's tax rate is well below the statutory limit, as you see, in addition to the rate of other urban counties. If approved, this could limit how quickly property taxes increase. It could affect local government funding for schools, police, fire, and parks. It could also shift more control of local taxes to state lawmakers. The county provides $893 million, or 35% of the total budget, to Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools alone to support operating, capital, and debt service. Lawmakers have not provided additional information on the percentage of this cap, so it's difficult for us to speak to specific fiscal impact at this time. However, we can anticipate that this will have a major impact on our budget, as property taxes account for 65% of the general fund, or 59% of the total budget. Our Mecklenburg County Budget Director also expressed some concern over attempts to require additional notifications, hearings, or referendums to adjust county revenues. These efforts in other states effectively freeze taxes for local government by placing unreasonable administrative hurdles. They also lead to poor planning by shortening the window to develop budget recommendations. In addition, per capita revenues in Mecklenburg County have not kept up with inflation. Property taxes without rate changes account for growth in the base, but not cost inflation. So moving forward, our next steps we'll see on April 15th. The members of this committee will vote to move this bill forward, and the question would be considered during the statewide general election on November 3rd of this year. Now, that question would read for voters, constitutional amendment requiring limits on property tax increases by local governments. Our ask of the members of the House Select Committee on Property Tax Reduction and Reform is that they vote no during that committee meeting on April 15th. And in the event this bill is moved out of committee favorably, we ask that the House and Senate members vote no as this piece of legislation moves through the process. The next item I'll review is the affordable housing exemption modifications. This would change who qualifies for property tax exemptions for affordable housing in North Carolina and add stricter rules to make sure the tax breaks actually lead to long-term affordable housing. The goal is to prevent private investors from partnering with nonprofits to reduce taxes without actually providing that long-term affordable housing. The Bill 1 preserves property tax exemptions for nonprofit affordable housing developers and partnerships between nonprofit and investors only if that partnership is supported by government funding. Examples could be tax credits or grants. And those partners must show that they have mechanisms in place to ensure housing remains affordable long-term. Second, the bill would eliminate tax exemptions for joint ventures not supported by government funding, private investors partnering with nonprofits to avoid taxes, and partnerships that do not maintain affordability. The bill also provides for new requirements to receive the tax break. So to qualify, at least 50% of the units must be affordable, meaning rent is no more than 30% of income, and tenants must earn 80% or less of AMI. For example, if the median income is $660,000, affordable housing targets household making $48,000 or less. Next, this bill provides for a one-year transition period that will give owners an additional time to verify tenant incomes for those in naturally occurring affordable housing. During this transition period, the owner would receive an exemption representing the percentage of units that meet the rent limit only. If the verification requirement is not met within one taxable year, that property would be assessed. So the reason for providing this transition is to address instances when nonprofit purchases an existing occupied property for which tenant incomes have not previously had to be verified. This can take additional time to verify, and so this will ensure that those individuals residing in this housing are not subject to eviction during that time period. This bill also requires property owners to submit an application for the exemption and an annual report with the rent amounts, tenant income levels, and proof that units remain affordable. So currently, once an owner is approved for this exemption, they do not have to reapply. This is a change to that. Lastly, the bill shortens the time frame by which affordable housing must be constructed for purposes of determining whether taxes must be paid. So currently, if an owner purchases land for the construction of future affordable housing, the taxes that would be due are considered a lien on that property and they're carried forward as deferred taxes. The taxes become payable if the property is not used for affordable housing within 10 years. This bill reduces that time period to 5 years. If this passes, these changes would take effect July 1st of this year. Moving on, the third piece of proposed legislation out of this committee is titled Nonprofit Hospital Property Tax Modifications. Currently, nonprofit hospitals receive a 100% property tax exemption on hospital buildings, medical equipment, land, and other property used for hospital operations if the property is actually and exclusively used for charitable hospital purposes. So to define charitable hospital purposes, this must have a humane and philanthropic objective. It is a hospital activity that benefits humanity or a significant rather than limited segment of the community without the exception of profit or reward. However, hospitals may charge patients who are able to pay and not lose this exemption. This bill would provide for a 50% property tax exemption, and hospitals would begin paying property taxes on half of their value beginning July 1st of this year. The bill also maintains the partial exemption, which allows the portion of a nonprofit hospital that meets the actual and exclusive use requirement to be eligible for the 50%. So for example, if 60% of a hospital's property qualifies, only 50% of that 60% is exempt. Changes to this legislation do account for large nonprofit hospitals that generate significant revenue, growing hospital systems expanding without paying property taxes, and the creation of new property tax revenue for local governments. The fourth and final piece of legislation I'll review is titled Nonprofit Hospital Sales Tax Refund Modifications. Currently, certain nonprofit organizations receive sales tax refunds for purchase of equipment, supplies, building materials, and construction costs. This bill reduces the amount of the sales tax refund to nonprofits. Current refund limits are $31.7 million for state sales taxes and $13.3 million for local sales taxes. The proposed limits are $10 million for state sales taxes and $4.25 million for local sales taxes. The bill also limits how hospital systems qualify for the sales tax refunds. Currently, large hospital systems may consist of the parent organization, multiple hospitals, clinics, affiliates, and subsidiaries, each qualifying for a separate sales tax refund. This bill would treat all as one single entity, with the entire hospital system receiving one refund. So, for example, in one large hospital system, there could be a parent hospital, 5 affiliates and clinics, and they all receive sales tax refunds. Under the proposed changes, that one entity would be capped at $10 million for state sales taxes and $4.25 million for local sales taxes, treated as one organization. Amendments to this bill account for large hospital systems receiving significant refunds due to the number of affiliates and resulting in local government revenue if this bill is passed. These changes would also take effect on July 1st. And as our county manager mentioned, on a related note, Mecklenburg County, the City of Charlotte, and Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools are collaborating on their first joint legislative event, and we will be hosting the Mecklenburg delegation. This is scheduled for April 14th, that's a Tuesday, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the purpose is to strengthen our joint legislative efforts, as well as to discuss common legislative priorities and to get our message across to members of our delegation. Topics of discussion during this meeting include public safety, property tax and budget, as well as health and human service items. We will have an opportunity to discuss this property tax legislation that I've reviewed, and we will also have policy briefs available for them to take away after the event. So, thank you for your time and attention, and I will open the floor for questions and discussion.
Well, thank you, Lisette. Really appreciate that. I'm going to start with the Chair of Intergovernmental, Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lisette. That was a great rundown of all the bills. I really appreciate it. You did a great job of explaining. Just a couple of questions. Do we know who's sponsoring all of these bills? Are we making any public statements, particularly about the affordable housing bill? And do you know if the hospitals have made any public statement at all, at least here in Mecklenburg County?
We have not made any statements about the affordable housing tax changes. We do have a letter prepared that we will be sending to members of the committee as well as our delegation, specifically related to the property tax levy limit.
Okay.
That's been our focus.
Well, I know that, you know, we're asking them to vote no and so on, but we're not making any statement like that for any of the others.
No, we have not.
Okay. Do you think that's in our future?
Possibly, we can. Relative to, there's 2 points. Lisette and I discussed this regarding the affordable housing exemption. We're supportive of the affordable housing language, but also realize that this exemption has been abused in the past. So it's one of those loopholes that could possibly be addressed. And then regarding the hospitals, yes, it would generate more funding to our general fund. But obviously, with respect to the hospital administrators, certainly there will be impacted from a funding perspective on their part. So they, I'm sure, have the same concerns regarding this language that I have with property tax exemption that I shared with you in my opening remarks.
Okay. So do we know the sponsors of these bills? Are they bipartisan?
This committee is bipartisan, but I'll have to go back and double check and see who those sponsors are,
Okay.
if they're listed.
I'd be interested in that. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Townsend Ingram.
I just want to say and just acknowledge to the public, we had, our RGR, I think that our Intergovernmental Relations Committee meeting, we had a joint one with CMS and with the city, and I'm so proud of the fact that we are working collaboratively. with our other government entities. I do feel confident that we'll be prepared. Lizette, you did do an absolutely superb job of breaking it down and of explaining it. I have every confidence that we will be well represented. Now, the outcome, a little bit nervous about, basically because of, Commissioner Meyer said, I don't know, I can't remember who are the sponsors of these bills, but just the delegation, and I want to make sure that when they have the meeting on the 15th, that at least the understanding of what Mecklenburg County and the city of Charlotte and Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, what our positions are held. And I have every confidence that that's going to go forward. So thank you all so much. This is a lot of hard work. It's a lot to dissect all of this and break it down into small pieces so that we can understand it. And I'm really appreciative of that. And thank you, Madam Chair of IGR, that the meeting did give some confidence. So appreciate that.
Commissioner Rodriguez-McDowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Lizette. That really was excellent. And I really appreciate the county manager saying, that we're not ready to push the panic button. However, I am pushing the outrage button because this body that is trying to make these changes has not even passed a full budget since like October of 2023. That's my understanding. And so, can you imagine if we didn't pass a budget? I mean, literally, these are the same folks that are trying to mess with our funding mechanisms. And I just think it's totally outrageous. I know that Atrium is our partner and our friend, but I have to say that I think this hospital, I think we should have a position. I would support us having a decision, a position on this nonprofit hospital funding, the property tax modifications, because we know that they are literally the most profitable nonprofit, okay? And so I understand how, when we're looking at our funding mechanisms, we're saying, hey, back off. Don't touch our funding mechanisms. And this is kind of probably, they would feel the same way. But I do think it's a little bit different, and because of how profitable they are. And I know that they will have armies of attorneys to fight, any kind of changes to protect their profits. And so I think it would be appropriate for us to speak for the people and to say what our position is on this. So I just wanted to toss that out there as, a desire, and I don't know if anyone else will join me there, but I think it's extremely important for us to have a position. And so the idea that the General Assembly, who's, also the Supreme Court just tossing out the Leandro or overturning the Leandro decision at the same time as this power grab, it just is outrageous. And I really feel like the state is driving us off a cliff. And I don't know that the public is totally getting it, how serious this really is. So maybe it's not the panic button, but it's the outrage button, and we gotta let people know how important this really is. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell.
It's my turn?
Snoopy dance all day.
So, just, this is related. I watched this movie on actually a couple movies on Theodore Roosevelt this weekend, read about him, and apparently some of these problems are repeating themselves. And I love what you said, you're going to push the outrage button, because there is so much to be outraged about. And you say citizens don't know. I don't even know if the media knows. How is it that we are filling the gap for $484 million? Almost, what is it, 2 billion or 3 billion?
2.5.
2.5.
2.5, no, I mean in the past 6 years, that we have funded the gap in state funding.
Oh, yeah.
It's over 2 billion? The fact that the average citizen doesn't understand that we're sending the taxes to Raleigh, and then we're taxing them again because we're not getting them back. It is outrageous. And so, I think about, I say shouting into a hurricane, but maybe this is better. My husband works in a flight path, under a flight path. And so sometimes we'll be standing like this close to each other, and we can't hear what each other is saying. I heard somebody, I was listening to the meeting on the school board say, how much honey do we need to take? How much honey is it going to take to get the General Assembly to listen to us? I don't know the answer, but, I'm willing to talk to anyone who will listen to the burden that this is putting on Mecklenburg County. The void in state funding today is putting a burden on us. It's crippling us. And when, I printed this out for everybody, this is the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance legislative agenda. So I have a printout for everyone because I'm really glad that we're going to have this meeting with CMS and with City Council. Yay. But we need business leadership to stand with us if we are going to be heard. Because right now we're just shouting into a hurricane. And, I hope the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance will come. We need them as partners. We need other people as partners to be with us because we're unified. And I really appreciate what you said about we need to have a position on the loopholes, because some of the things that you presented tonight, yay for Raleigh for noticing them. There are some significant loopholes that people are getting tax exemptions for that just winners take all. And, I have a position on the nonprofit hospital and the nonprofit hospital sales tax. So maybe these executives will have smaller bonuses. But that's it. I feel like we need to have a position on that. My position. So I think my time's up. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Outrage.
We go to Commissioner Leek, then Commissioner Dunlap.
Thank you. Let me say thank you for your presentation and the handout. Readable, clearly understandable. When you talk about constitutional amendment, property tax levy limit, the average citizen is not keeping up with any of this. They're depending on the local government, the city and the county, school board, to digest the information and disseminate it to the public. When you have town meetings, when you have all call for the people to come, you don't have the very people that's complaining or maybe left with the problem of having to pay these taxes. So I'm hoping that in the future that we'll have enough to disseminate this information. And all of this information tonight is valuable for the local citizen. And we look here and the seats are empty. Seats should be full, hearing what we have to say and what we plan to do and how we plan to do it. What will be the outcome, and especially for my seniors and for young people who are trying to get established. It's important that they be in these meetings so they'll have something to work with, knowing what the responsibility is. The average citizen cannot tell you now where money is going that goes to the school board or to nonprofits coming from the county, what we do and how we get it done. And one of the things I want to say to us that in our community meetings, whether it's at your church, your social club, your Democratic Party, your Republican Party, we're in a war. We're fighting each other. And if we don't get a handle on it, it's going to be worse 5 years from now, because nobody is chaining the state government and saying enough, loud enough to say, you all are not meeting the needs of the people. We're sending our tax money to you, but you're not converting it back to us to help the average citizen. So when we have the meetings, we're soft talking. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but some people, and you talk to some people and not all of them. So not you personally, but I'm talking about the general public. We are not letting the city and letting the state know how in dying need the school system is needed for their funds. Roads, highways, coming through neighborhoods, and then saying if you don't let us come through, we'll send that money to another county. And it doesn't make sense that we sit back and they're on vacation in Washington for 2 weeks, and the president is running wild. And I'm not hearing enough negativity from us to say to these people, you're not meeting the needs of our people. So we've got to do a better job of electing people who are going to speak up and speak out and not be self-centered only about themselves, but about the general public. We've got to do that. We must do it. So thank you again for your presentation and your information. I'm keeping all of these, running them off, making sure that the community get this information and clarity. If we need clarity, we know to get you to come to our meetings. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your support and all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dunlap.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think more than anything, this community needs to understand that this discussion about property tax is not just an issue for the state of North Carolina. It's an issue that's being debated all across this country. And all across this country, there's an effort to shift the taxes from the federal government down to the local level. And what concerns me more than anything else is we are always behind the 8 ball. You heard Lisette talk about potential referendum that might go before the public. We need to get ahead of this by educating the public about the consequences of what might happen if it were to pass. Now, some people will not like the fact that one of the things we can do as a community is spend money to educate the public about these kinds of referendums. And so we need to do all we can to make sure that people understand that when you put those kinds of limits on the way we fund county government, what those consequences might be. And they can actually be devastating, dire. There are communities all across this country that won't be able to even pay their payroll because of these kinds of limits. And I really don't understand the people who make these kinds of laws and why they do it. But we need to not press the panic button, but we need to raise the alarm so that people understand what's being discussed in our state legislature. I thought it was ironic that we have 2 people who are supposedly representing us who won't be there after this election. And I'll be honest, I don't know just how much energy they have to really advocate on our behalf. I hope they still feel an obligation to the citizens of Mecklenburg County, but that's to be seen. And so I would just say we need to do what we can to continue to educate the public about what's happening as relates to these taxes and have the public understand the consequences in the event that the state legislature is able to pass a referendum that allows them to limit the amount of taxes that Mecklenburg County can charge. Even understanding that we are $1 less than what the state law allows us to levy in the first place. But it's just a way to shift the tax burden from the federal government down to the local person. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Griffin.
Second that.
I'll just add just a couple of quick points. Just an irony. Commissioner Rodriguez-Medal talked about passing the budget. When I first got elected, the very first thing that was said by state law my responsibility was to set the tax rate and pass a budget, a budget ordinance.
For thee, but not for me.
You know, I mean, my colleagues up there in Raleigh, you said since 23 or whenever it was, it's just ridiculous. The federal government passed a budget, and 3 months ago, we were informed that automatically that's $10 million more in terms of the shifting of administrative costs would come to the county. It is just beyond comprehension for this. But let me just share this. If you've been around for a while, you probably remember there was a constitutional amendment about you have to be a citizen to vote, although there was a law already on the books and you can't do that, right? I just think it's just applaud Commissioner Dunlap when they talk about constitutional amendment. That's just a GOTV scheme to try to get people out. So you're absolutely right that we got to educate the citizens and residents of Mecklenburg County and across the state, although we can't put taxpayer money toward that education and marketing program, but understand the ruse that's behind a lot of these things that are in front of you that ultimately designed to try to get more people out elected that have even more crazy ideas about what county should be doing and being responsible for. So I just remind the public that your vote matters, and we need to do everything we can do from a public pulpit to try to get the private sector engaged to make sure the various organizations understand and get their people out to vote. Mr. Dunlap has said it, had a long career with McGraw-Hill running around the country, and I can tell you what it looks like in some of these counties and communities that don't have resources to do the fundamentals of education, of health and human services, of parks, et cetera. So let's put all our heads together and figure out how to get people out to vote during this election and start an education campaign immediately. And I think someone said something about not only you're writing a letter, but also trying to make sure that if there are community groups that want to get technical information, we certainly can educate Mr. Dunlap, Commissioner Dunlap. We can educate. We can't politic, but we certainly can educate the community around those various issues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Altman.
Thank you. So if I understand on the constitutional amendment for property tax, it's almost double, more than double what our current rate is. So we are a very, very, very long way from actually, like, God, if this were to be passed, we're a long way from it actually impacting how we tax and how we fund. Is that a true statement?
True.
Okay. But obviously, it's a terrible precedent, which I don't want, but I just want to make sure I'm clear about that.
And Vice Chair, one point of clarification. Also, the legislation is looking at, on an annual basis, how much the property tax rate could be increased.
Limited.
So limiting
I
the
see.
flexibility. So that's where the concern.
Right. I thank you for that
So I just want to be clear
clarification.
on that.
I do think the federal and state government are trying to push unfunded mandates down to localities, but at the same time, it's weird to me that they are attempting to strip the ability of localities to fund, to handle unfunded mandates. Like, it just seems like a starving of public investments for all the kinds of infrastructure we need, from education to everything that we all rely upon. So I think that's just sort of weird and sort of internally inconsistent, like, what are they trying to do? But I do want to say that if I understand the affordable housing exemption modification, the nonprofit property tax modification, and the nonprofit hospital sales tax refund modifications, if I understand it correctly, these are attempts to address what I perceive as a fundamental unfairness that some property owners who are not really doing affordable housing, but they're paying less than every other homeowner, every other taxpayer. I have a problem with that. And I have a problem with, major hospitals, even if they do give some indigent care, but are making a lot of money also, not carrying their fair share with property tax also. I would love for staff to tell us what would be the change to Mecklenburg County coffers if our local nonprofit hospitals started paying property tax. I'm sure it's in the neighborhood of, I shouldn't say the number. I would love to get an authoritative number. Adrian, I'm looking at you if you can come take the podium. But I'm just saying it makes me happy if there's an attempt to correct what I think is a fundamental unfairness to taxpayers and homeowners who don't get exemptions, whereas these other entities, I think, unfairly have.
Sorry to disappoint, but I have no idea what it is. In fact, we'd have to work with our assessor, and there's even some further analysis they might have to do because, of course, these have been exempt for some time. So determining exactly what that impact would be is just a number I don't have out the top of my head.
That is fair, but I would like to encourage, if there's a majority here, for some appropriate advocacy, because I support this as well.
Thank you. All right, Lisette, thank you for the update. It was a really important update. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for adding to your report. A couple of things. One, with respect to bucket number one, which is property tax, they've created a solution looking for a problem. Okay, so we've reversed the way this thing should go. Second point is this. The reality of the situation is we have to really realize that we're really we keep trying to bring a knife to a gunfight. If somebody's smacking you in the face, you can't ask for honey and all this other stuff, I mean, it's just, these things have been on our legislative agenda for a long time. We have been engaging. We have been asking. We have been trying to be collegial. We have tried to take ideology and philosophy and all of these things out of the equation to deal with folks. We have the 19th lowest tax rate, even though we're all D's up here, right? We have the 19th lowest tax rate in this state.
What's a D, Dom?
And so when you think about it, I mean, we don't fit the stereotypical ideology or ideological approach to governance that people would put on us. We have leaned in where we could. We are 21% of the state's economic engine is here in Mecklenburg County. So I'm not going to start running from that. I'm not going to cower from that. We have something to say, right? Mecklenburg County has something to say. It's okay for us to stand up. It's okay for us to make statements and move forward respectfully, professionally, but also protect our residents. And we've got to stop tiptoeing around these situations that are unfair, inequitable, and unjust.
Thank you.
We are dealing with utter foolishness. People are running us off a cliff. If you look out in the fiscal projections 2032, we are running right off of a cliff. Everybody. I mean, this is utter foolishness for us not to lift and raise our voices in a way that says enough is enough. So I think, Mr. Manager, where I'm going with this, yes, statements are great. I'm all for it. We want to do a statement. I'm good with that. I don't know how much people are going to actually listen to the statement, but I do think it's important to have a position. So I respect that. But we've got to look at some other tools that are in the tool belt. We have to. We can't. It is untenable to continue down the path that we're on. Today, it's $484 million. Think about when this state when they're in a position with the lowering of the corporate tax rate, when they can't fund anything. There's nothing in the coffers to fund what we're going to have to make up there. We have to wake up. We have to know, Mr. Manager, what additional tools are in our tool belt. And if we have to spend money on litigation, if we have to look at other things, we have to explore those options. We have to stop playing around. Yes, we cannot be scared to litigate. We have got to figure this out in a different way, team. And I think we all need to be committed, and I know we are. But the definition of his insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. I'm not there. I'm done with that.
Thank you.
So I hope if anybody's on the team, let's go. Let's figure this out, Mr. Manager. We have got to do something different. This is not going to work. Yes, please.
Tyrone, is it even possible for us to have litigation against the state if it was to pass?
I'd research that and get back with you.
Safe answer, Tyrone.
I like that answer.
And really, I hate that I teed up litigation. Whatever tools are in the
that's one
tool
level,
belt,
yes.
right?
I get your
Whatever
point.
the tools
Yeah.
are, right? It's just, there has to be an endpoint to what we're experiencing. At least, look, if I'm gonna get beat up, I'm gonna throw some punches.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all there is to it, all
Thank
right? So that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Lisette. Again, I think moving forward with a position statement for us, I think that is more than appropriate if we can get something around that.
Campaign.
I'm sorry? And obviously, the
Education
education
campaign.
campaign, yeah.
So I was going to say, Mr. Chair, I think your comments are appropriate, given the fact that we're getting ready to go to advocacy days.
Yep.
And so we need to be in sync with other counties around the state who are of like mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The manager, just so for everybody's awareness as well, manager and I are also planning a regional touch base. And we'll talk more about it. And again, just so we could get to know the folks that are in our general proximity and footprint, and also make sure that we lift up some of our shared issues. So we are looking and discussing that because, again, I think we have more allies than, and they have more allies than what they realize, and vice versa.
Right.
So more to come on. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Reaching out to our Attorney General, he's had some success. So, like you said, looking to see who we can get a consensus with. I think, like I said, us working together locally, those three, that was really, really encouraging to me. And then reaching out to other counties, and then possibly speaking with, because we've got a couple of hostiles on our delegation that makes me nervous.
Absolutely. Thank you for your leadership, Commissioner Meyer, on intergovernmental as well.
Thank you to Lizette.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. And just to follow up on your requests about the chairs or the sponsors, typically it is those are the committee chairs, and it's Pare, Howard, and Setzer on this committee, but I can confirm that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisette. Good job. Thank you, Board, for your feedback, comments, and direction. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. We're going to move to the consent agenda. I have made allowed for an allowance, and this is what it is, colleagues. Commissioner Leek is going to raise 4 items. She's just reading them for visibility purposes. Staff is not responding because they were not aware of this, but she wanted to raise them because of they were not pulled previously. So she's going to read them. They can work with staff afterwards, but I did say I would allow her to read those 4 items before we go to a vote to vote on everything that wasn't pulled. So Commissioner Leek, if you want to read your 4 items.
Yes, thank you so much. And I want to thank Ms. Smith and her staff for trying to get the information ready. And I want to apologize because Ms. Jones was out ill and didn't get the information. All right, the first one deals specifically with Larry King's Clubhouse Children's Play and Care Center. I had some staff people to talk about us providing the same type of services for our people who have children who need child care. So, Mr. Chairman, do you see that, check that one off?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. The next one is House Appropriations Committee Community Project Funding. You can give us a response to that later. That's 260126.
Yes, just give me your question. We're happy to respond.
And thank you so much. And the third one happens to be the question about the AIDS program, ending the HIV epidemic. What does, that's number 260128. 260128.
I'll get your response to your question as well for that.
All right, thank you. And the next one dealt specifically with the lease extension of the Charlotte Mecklenburg School. What are we spending on leasing of property for the school system?
We pulled that. That's not on the agenda. That's been pulled.
Oh, it's been removed?
That one is pulled, Commissioner, so we'll get to that one in
It's
just a
been
second.
removed from the agenda.
But we can get the information later, though.
Well, it's not on your agenda, so.
Not now, I don't mean
You're
that.
looking at a dated version.
All
So
right.
that has been removed from the board's agenda for tonight.
All right, thank you. And the next dealt specifically,
You say you have four, Commissioner, is there, you have
two
more?
are the same one that makes it, and I'm through now. Budget Amendment, Department of Child, Family, and Adult Services. You have
Just give
two
me your
of those.
question. We'll respond accordingly.
Okay, which would be one. Did you get those, sir?
Yes.
Thank you so
Again,
much.
just
All
make
right,
sure
thank
you
you, Commissioner.
get us your questions and we'll respond.
I'll see that you get it
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay.
And thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Question, Mr.
Sure.
Now, are those items considered pooled or just her raising the issue?
There was just her raising the issue because they weren't pulled.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve all those items that were not pulled.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Question is, are you saying we won't get the information, Mr. Chairman?
No, that's not.
No, they were just, we just went, but like the regular consent agenda.
Thank
Yeah, the
you.
manager's
Thank
going
you.
through those other ones. So, with respect to the pulled consent items, 26-0100, amendment to a dock lease with Duke Energy and new dock lease with the City of
Right.
Charlotte, CMPD Boathouse at McDowell Nature Preserve, Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, and I'm glad that
And I have pulled those two.
I'm glad these two folks are coming down. So, do you just want to go over this, Peter, because, or Jacqueline?
Okay,
So, if you just want to go over it and explain what is happening.
sure. I can do that. It may be helpful to go back and give a little background on the parties involved in this. We have Duke Energy that is involved. Of course, Duke Energy controls the shoreline along the county. We have FERC, which is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Duke Energy reports to FERC. They're only allowed to do what FERC allows them to do along the shoreline. You have the county's nature preserve, and we have docks that are along the county's property. Now, there are several documents or agreements that were involved for the docks at McDowell Nature Preserve, and we had leases with Duke Energy. So since Duke Energy controls the shoreline to put docks along the property, we were required to enter into a lease with Duke Energy. That lease and everything that is in that lease is governed by FERC regulations. So going back to 2024, we entered into a lease with Duke Energy for 5 docks along county property. Fast forward to, I think, 2025, CMPD came to the county and wanted to reconstruct their boathouse, which is one of the docks along that shoreline. So we needed to come to you all to update that lease because we aren't allowed to do anything that is not in that lease. So we needed to update that lease with Duke Energy, and FERC needed to agree to that. So we came to you, did that. Meanwhile, Duke Energy decided, hey, does it really make sense for us to have the boathouse as a part of that lease? And this boathouse has been there for quite some time, years, 30 years or longer. And CMPD uses it to patrol the shore and do law enforcement activities along the shore. So, as I said, we got permission from you all to amend that lease to allow CMPD to reconstruct and maintain their boathouse. Duke Energy, meanwhile, went to FERC, who regulates them, and said, hey, we don't think that this really needs to be under that FERC regulation. FERC looked at it and agreed and decided to remove that from the regulation. So that means that now we need to come to you again and ask you to amend that lease to remove the boathouse. So we will now have 4 docks that are a part of our lease with Duke Energy, and we will do a separate lease directly with the City of Charlotte to allow CMPD to reconstruct, operate, and run their boathouse. Now, and there's a little bit of confusion around that because even though the boathouse is being removed, anything along the shoreline still, is permitted by Duke, and there are other just normal permitting requirements that the city will need to undergo as a part of that process. And this was previously reviewed by Park and Rec, as well as our stormwater department, and no one in those departments had any problem with it. CMPD, the city, has been a good partner for us out there. We've reviewed their plans, and there are no issues with allowing them to reconstruct the boathouse and move forward.
That was a great explanation.
Thank you.
So
Clear to me?
yeah, and I love your brain because you have to deal with so many complexities.
Thank you.
So thank you, because that was very understandable. I do have a question about fueling. Where are those boats fueled for CMPD?
If I remember correctly from a while back, they have underground lines that run that fuel, but that's also regulated by the state. They come out and inspect it on a regular basis. They make sure that there are no leaks, and they replaced that maybe 10 years ago, so they do a good job of making sure that it's properly maintained.
So, Peter, do you know if it's the same kind of fueling that we have at Ramsey Creek?
It should be. We have the above-ground tank that they fill there and then fill to the boats.
All right, because I had the biggest gasoline spill in United States history in my district, so I always want to know, the fueling is monitored and up to date and all of that, especially in a nature preserve.
Yes, and we work with the state on those, as Jacqueline mentioned, with the inspections. And their recommendation, we got the above-ground tanks.
Well, thank you for all of that. I don't have any more questions.
Move approval.
I move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, 26-0124, Mecklenburg County CMBE Master Joint Property Use Agreement. We have Commissioner Powell and Commissioner Griffin.
You want me to go first? or-
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's another complex issue. And so, I'm thinking, oh, like what if something goes wrong? And so I see that the leases are for 1 year at a time in case there's some kind of friction or aggravation. Speak to us about this.
Sure. We've been working with Park and Rec and CMS on these agreements. We've had many agreements over the years with CMS, and this has about 32 locations where we share joint use of sites with CMS. And this just takes all of our agreements over the years, puts it under one universal joint use agreement. We will meet with CMS twice a year, and we can add and take away items to that agreement with CMS through this process. So it makes it a simpler process, puts all of the agreements under one joint use. So we recommend this joint use agreement.
Yeah, George.
Thank you.
Okay, so I heard you, and I believe you. But I know today I got quite a number of phone calls from people who are concerned that some of the things that were offered as a result of the current lease agreement would no longer be offered. In particular, what is happening at the old Second Ward gym and the parking. So can you speak to that?
Okay, Commissioner Dunlap, we handled the concerns at Second Ward Gym under a different agreement. Previously, the users of Second Ward Gym used the surface lot that is next to the building and sort of in front of the old Metro School. There were currently 65 lots there, or excuse me, spaces there. As you know, CMS is going to be building a new school. That new school will include a deck. That deck is scheduled to have 400 spaces. And this new agreement that we did with CMS, the county secured 100 spaces for county use for Second Ward gym, so more spaces than we have now, and that's on a complimentary basis. And we signed that agreement between CMS and the county last month.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Griffin.
Yeah, let me just add, one of the concerns is just simply the relationship we have with the county. The Second Ward High School National Alumni Foundation and Mecklenburg County signed a lease in 2018. It comes up for renewal in 2028. I'll give you an analogy in terms of, to help you understand the concern about progress. Progress always ends up impacting the African-American community or assets in a very negative way. There is a church that was in First Ward. Urban removal moved it over to Third Ward on Cedar and West Trade Street. That church had an agreement for a permanent parking agreement, and today that church is struggling because of growth and because of that agreement may not sustain itself for the life of that church. We may choke that church because of growth and progress. What the Second Ward High School National Alumni Foundations want that wonderful growth to help us come to a conclusion that we need to get rid of that gymnasium. So I've talked with the manager, I've talked with Dr. Johnson. There is full support for the agreement between Second Ward High School and National Alumni Foundation to honor that agreement. But keep in mind, if we're successful in developing everything around that gymnasium, we may choke it. And so that commitment that you've received from the public schools or CMS is fantastic, and hopefully that will enhance the livelihood and existence and support of the agreement between Second Ward High School National Alumni Foundation and Mecklenburg County and Park and Recreation.
Yes, sir. I would like to say one of the, while our agreement may not address all of the concerns that you mentioned, we do have a provision in the agreement that should any party want to terminate, that we both would come together and reach a mutual agreement between the two parties that's satisfactory.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I received calls on this as well. I think, Mr. Manager, my ask would be this, is I know we're saying there's actually more spaces at this point, but to address Commissioner Griffin's point, one thing that I think would be helpful, Mr. Manager, if we met with the Second Ward alumni group and heard their concerns, and they hear it from us directly. So I would appreciate if you and I can set a time to be there, and we have staff on deck to be able to make sure that we're addressing all of their concerns and not just partial, and also not just looking at some contract or what have you, and they still have questions out there. And so, what do you think about that, Commissioner?
I think that works.
Okay.
I think that works.
Yeah, because I think it's legitimate what they're saying, and I want to just make sure we have all the bases covered, because if we do need to make adjustments, I would be advocating with the board to, make whatever adjustments we need to make sure that they're protected. So,
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Powell?
So as I finish this term, I never want to not take the time to thank you. And so thank you for your great brain, Jacqueline.
You're welcome.
And I want to tell you that, I don't want to get choked up, but I will tell you that whatever you want to be heard from the community, Peter will be there. And so whenever, I've known him for decades, he listens. And whenever I read Galatians about fruits of the Spirit, that is him. He is so kind, so caring, always listening, trying to do what's best to build the community. And I am just so grateful, for the work that you have done for Mecklenburg County. And I want to always, take the time to recognize you. He is a great listener. And he's kind of quiet, but that's what a great listener has sometimes, So thank you for all that you've done. Thank you.
Commissioner Griffin, I was part of that agreement back in 2018, so we'll make sure we have the meeting with the Second Board Alumni Association and be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That means y'all have talked.
So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. We're going to move to Commissioner reports. Who has a report? Commissioner Altman and Commissioner Powell.
I do, I have a report.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to the Economic Development Team under the leadership of the County Manager and Dr. Johnson for a great job today. Commissioner, Chairman Emeritus Dunlap and I were at the SMBC group announcement, which they're going to be bringing 2,000 jobs to Mecklenburg County with an average wage of around $160,000. So that's real opportunity for our community. And they continue, thank you to PI, Kay, and Suzette. I don't want to call out people because I'll forget somebody. We had a big team there today, but they all did a great job, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell, then Commissioner Leek.
So I found the number of the 7-year total of void in funding, and it's $2.988 billion. $2.988 billion. We filled the gap for 7 years.
Over 8 years.
We are the economic engine of the state. We are it. I don't even know why that causes resentment. We should be embraced for that, all of the work that is done, the economic development. And so thank you for asking for tools, because we do need more tools. And maybe we need Charlotte Creative to help us. I want to give you the legislative agenda from the Business Alliance, but also just to say out loud, you know, when we meet with these scouts, and I'm not in the meetings with Roger when he's meeting with scouts that are thinking about coming to Mecklenburg County, but they want a decent place to live. The business wants to make money, but the people that work for the business want a decent place to live. What the state is doing is hurting us. You know, so like what happens when the state is crippling Mecklenburg County? And, you know, like that, I just don't think that, I love whoever said that we need to educate the public, because I think it was Commissioner Griffin. Because the awareness of that, of what is happening, is really so unjust, very unjust. Anyway, I just had to say the number, $2.988 billion of void in funding.
We're just going to say 3.
Yeah, you might as well round it to 3.
That's right.
But
Just call it 3.
thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Leak.
I just wanted to make an announcement of some cards that been going to have to be changed on the critical home repairs. I need to share with our manager and thank him for his support and his community and my seniors. So I'll meet with you whenever you say so we can work on this. I won't share the other issue. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Griffin.
Real quickly, this past weekend, I attended a debutante cotillion from the A Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Beautiful, beautiful occasion, just phenomenally talented young men and young women. And then the very next day, ran into a young lady, 23 years old, who's struggling, trying to figure her way how to get to Central Piedmont. And it just reaffirmed my commitment to lobby and advocate with my colleagues for this residential Upward Mobility Academy, because reaching out to Central Piedmont just needed a hand up, not a hand out. And, you know, just had multiple occasions, for whatever reasons, was not successful in connecting with Central Piedmont, but she is connected with Central Piedmont today, and she has a beautiful future in front of her with the support she's going to get at Central Piedmont. So, Mr. Manager, my colleagues, I want you to embrace, you know, my philosophy, raising the floor and the ceiling at the same time. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Real quick, I sent an email to the board the other day, last week, highlighting a lot of the things that we've been experiencing as a board. And I wanted to take this time to really shout out the manager. As I was crafting that email and thinking about the things that we've been going through as far as the certain transition, not from chair to manager, you know, staff, all of these things, and the things that we've still been able to accomplish. The manager had committed to us doing things, coming from taking a different approach. And I think it is incumbent upon us to make sure that we're sharing feedback. And you know, some of the feedback that I have right now is that he definitely has been a person of his word, has taken a different approach, has given us options. We're collecting a lot of wins at this point. We're doing things differently. We're trying on new things, and it's not always easy to do that. So I appreciate you taking the risks that you're taking. I appreciate your leadership and what you continue to do. So I wanted to certainly lift that up. And with that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I know. Jinx.